Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, April the 16th, 2024. It is currently 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and I am coming to you live from the Theology Central studio, located right here in Abilene, Texas. Now, for 2024, we are doing what we are calling the Sermons 2.0 app Sermon Challenge, where I am challenging people to download the Sermons 2.0 app and use it and listen to at least one sermon every single day. Make it random. Don't focus on the name or of the church or the pastor, just trying to find random sermons. So you hear lots of different things from different perspectives, and you're getting spiritual food every single day. It's been a somewhat successful challenge. I think it's been a somewhat success. I think it's fair to say, you don't want to be blind and try to say something is wildly successful when it's not. But I know this, the intent is to try to get people to use this amazing resource, the Sermons 2.0 app, and to try to provide people spiritual food Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, around the clock all year, and right there in one device that's free for you to download. So I think at least the intent of the challenge is good, and hopefully some people have benefited from it. At least I know at least one person who contacted me and has listened. I think 100 sermons at this point. So whether it's 100, whether it's 50, whether it's 40, if you're participating, I hope you are benefiting from it. And what we do at different times is I give you specific themes. Specific things to look up, maybe a verse or a topic or a theme. And I think that is also adds to the overall challenge, where you're just not choosing random sermons. Now you're choosing random sermons on a particular verse or a particular concept or idea or a particular, doctrine, whatever the case may be. And hopefully that's added to it, and it's been very beneficial. But just to show you, one of the reasons we're doing this is because of the amount of content that's on the Sermons 2.0 app. It's been estimated that the Sermons 2.0 app currently, this is how much content they have. They currently have 203 years, 28 weeks, and 4 days of content. That if you were to try to listen to it, all the content, it would take you around 203 years, 28 weeks, and 4 days to listen to everything available on the Sermons 2.0 app. That's how much content is available. 203 years, 28 weeks, and 4 days of content. That is absolutely mind-blowing. I don't even know how to wrap my mind around that on that one app, you have 203 years of content that if you were going to listen to everything on there, it would take you 203 years. And that's if no other content was being added. And right now, as I'm speaking, new content is being added to the Sermons 2.0 app. As I'm speaking, other ministries are live streaming. And all of that's there available to you around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But when you have that much content available, how are you ever going to make use of all of it? How are you going to discover it? How are you going to find it? And that's one of the reasons we're doing the Sermons 2.0 app challenge, to help you discover new ministries, new pastors, new sermon series, new whatever, and that you will just utilize it and utilize it. And I want you to use that app so much that the app blows up. Okay, I know it can't actually blow up, but using hyperbole there, using exaggerated speech. I want you to use it and use it and use it. And I hope that you will grow to appreciate all this there, even if you listen to a lot of things you disagree with. It's getting you to think about scripture, theology, doctrine, church history, theological issues, and hopefully you are benefiting from it. Now, for this week, for the Sermons 2.0 app challenge, we're turning our attention, we are turning our focus to, our mouths. We're turning our attention, our focus to our tongues. We are turning our attention and our focus to the words which we speak. So this week you are supposed to be looking up sermons. We started this today. So as of today, for the rest of this week, you're supposed to be listening to sermons, finding random sermons on things like gossip, slander, the tongue, the mouth, words, and I'm going to read the scripture. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 19. He that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets, therefore meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips. The word is talebearer. I want you looking for sermons about talebearing, about being a talebearer. What does it mean? What is it? How do we avoid it? What is wrong with it? How do you identify when someone is a talebearer? How do you know if you are a talebearer? All of these questions and issues related to being a talebearer. I want you to look up sermons about that. Now, I know I just gave you this challenge, 2 hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, not that long ago. We did a little devotional message on Proverbs chapter 20, verse 19. We put that in our series on Proverbs. But now, for the Sermons 2.0 app challenge, because I gave you the challenge in the last broadcast, now, I'm going to participate. I grabbed the Sermons 2.0 app. I did a search for Talebearer and chose a random sermon, and we're going to do a review of that random sermon. Now, this sermon that we're going to review is 55 minutes long, meaning if I review the whole thing, this will be 4, 5, 6 parts. So I don't know if I'm going to review the whole thing. I may just review part of it. Then you can go listen to the rest. And then for part 2, we'll review another sermon on talebearer. I think I'm going to focus on the word being a talebearer and talebearing because I didn't realize how many sermons have talebearer in the title, but there's a lot of them. So that gives us something very specific to focus on. Now, what I'm going to give you the name of the sermon so that you can look it up. It is called The Cure for Talebearing. The Cure for Talebearing. How can you, what is the cure for it? Is this going to focus on, is the cure of talebearing, in other words, if I do this, I'll stop doing it? Or is the cure for talebearing ultimately the sacrifice of Jesus Christ? I don't know which direction they're going to go, but it's called The Cure for Talebearing. Now, this is interesting. It is a part of the series on the Heidelberg Catechism. Now, the Heidelberg Catechism is amazing and awesome, and everyone should read the Heidelberg Catechism. So that's already fascinating to me. I'm like, okay, this is a part of the series on the Heidelberg Catechism. Okay, this is good. I need to follow this entire series. I need to download the entire series. So it's called The Cure for Talebearing. It is part of the series Heidelberg Catechism, and this is from Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. The pastor is Pastor Corey. I don't know exactly how to say the last name. Griess. Pastor Corey, Griess. Please look them up, follow them, download the sermon. It's just another attempt to try to help you use all of that content because over 200 years of content is available on that app. I know it's hard for people to understand this, but so many times there are sermons that are just sitting in a sense available to you on that app that's collecting dust. Nobody's listening to them. No one's ever going to find them. No one's ever going to discover them. And that to me is like, no. How do I get people to discover these sermons? Now, this one has been listened to 127 times, which is pretty good numbers, but it's also been sitting there since 2016. So that's 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. It's been sitting there for over 7 years or almost 8 years, because it was published in August. So when we get to August of 2024, it's going to have been 8 years. And guess what? It's only got 127 streams. I bet you most of those numbers, that 127, I'm assuming probably they got 50 to 70% of that number within the first 72 hours for the first week or two of it being uploaded. So that means it hasn't probably been listened to in a very long time. So that's why we're doing this challenge. But are you ready to listen to it? Are you ready to talk about it and discuss it? Now, for those who are new, let me just remind you, sermon reviews are done this way. I picked a sermon randomly because I'm participating in the same Sermons 2.0 app challenge as you. And even when I'm not participating in that challenge, all sermon reviews are like, basically, I'm going to listen to a sermon, and so I just listen to it live on the air. I don't listen to it first. So nobody can accuse me of like, oh, you go find the sermons that you want to criticize. No, I just go listen to a sermon and I just do it live on the air. So my reactions are happening in real time. I'm trying to offer analysis and critique in real time. And what it's supposed to be is like you and I are sitting there together and I'm going, oh, pause. So what do you think about this? And what do you think about it? I don't know. And the goal is not to be critical, the judge. And now sometimes I may be critical. I may make strong disagreement with it. But the goal of it ultimately is for everyone's spiritual edification, is because we take the sermon apart. Maybe I can offer some insight about putting sermons together. I've only been preaching for like 30 years of my life. So I think I know something about putting sermons together. So we can talk about sermon structure. We can talk about that. We can talk about the hermeneutical approach. And I just hopefully it's beneficial. But today, the real goal is, because this is a part of the Sermons 2.0 app challenge, we need to learn about being a talebearer and about talebearing, because we are told in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 19, he that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets. And that's not a good thing. Being a talebearer, going around revealing secrets and talking about things you shouldn't be telling other people about, that's not a good thing. And guess what? Therefore, you should not meddle. You should not meddle with, become connected to, and become, in a sense, entangled with someone that flattereth with his lips. And the idea of flattering with his lips is the idea that his mouth is open. He's got a big mouth. Someone who's got a big mouth going around revealing secrets, don't get entangled with. Don't get connected with, because ultimately those who reveal secrets to you will reveal your secrets to other people. As I said earlier today, there's one thing all human beings have in common. We have a mouth. And that's where all of our problems usually begin, because we begin to say things and speak things that we should not speak. Now, let's talk about what the cure is for being a talebearer. So we're going to go to Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. This was August of 2016. I don't know where this church is located, but wherever it's located, I could probably look here in a minute, but wherever it was located, I'm just going to imagine in my mind, because I'm from West Texas, it's August the 21st. It's probably 975 degrees. The pavement is melting. And if you go outside, you burst into flames. But we were able to get inside the church, wherever it was. And now hopefully the AC is working. And well, I don't know how hot it was at this particular time, but August in Texas, I know how hot it was. But you ready? 2016. Let's go back to then, and let's learn about the cure of talebearing. And what I'm fascinated about, this is a part of their series on the Heidelberg Catechism. This should be interesting. Here we go.
Read God's Word this morning from the book of Proverbs. 3 places in the book of Proverbs. First from Proverbs chapter 6, beginning at verse 12. Proverbs 6, verse 12. Read through verse 19 there. The book of Proverbs speaks about 60 times about sins of the tongue.
Oh, wow. The book of Proverbs speaks about 60 times about the sins of the tongue. We need a list of all of those verses 60 times. We need to make that a priority. We need to compile a list of all 60 places where the book of Proverbs speaks of the sins of the tongue, and we may want to really, really give them serious thought. Here we go.
And a good number of those times, it's speaking about the specific sin of the tongue, of gossip or slander, what it calls talebearing. That's going to be the focus of the sermon this morning. I read 3 of the many passages in Proverbs that refer to talebearing or sins of the tongue. Proverbs 6, verse 12, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually. He soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. Now turn with me to Proverbs chapter 18.
Now, I find it fascinating that a sermon entitled The Cure for Talebearing begins with a passage in which the term is not used. Now, we could ask ourselves, talebearing comes from, at least one, there is at least, talebearing comes from, I think, 2 different Hebrew words. So, is the Hebrew word, in fact, let me look here. So, hang on. Where would it show up? I'm looking here. So, this frowardness, I don't think it's going to be there. Let me see here. A false witness, let's see, that speaketh lies. I don't know. I don't think there would be a I would have to look at the Hebrew text. I'm looking like, where do I think there would be the Hebrew word that would also be translated talebearing? I don't know. I just think it's an interesting choice to use. Hey, I'm going to talk about the cure of talebearing, but we're going to look at a verse. Now, you could say talebearing could involve some of the things mentioned here, but okay, he's going to go to another passage in Proverbs. I'm just thinking out loud, but we'll let him. And before I jump the gun and try to start the investigation, let's let him articulate it and unpack it, because he may do that for us.
Proverbs 18. I'll just read there verse 8. Actually 7. And a fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly.
Okay, talebearer. Now we have the word talebearer. I love that verse in verse 7, Proverbs 18:7. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. Ooh, how many times does that describe you? I don't know. Describes me a lot. And the words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Yeah, okay. I want to start preaching and teaching these myself, but let's let him continue.
Finally, we'll read Proverbs 26, verse 20. Proverbs 26, verse 20. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. That far we read God's word this morning, the basis of those passages in Proverbs, and a good number of others that I'm going to refer to in the sermon this morning, also passages throughout the Old and New Testaments. The Heidelberg Catechism explains for us the 9th commandment. Lord's Day 43, the 9th commandment, which is, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Lord's Day 43, page 24 in the back of your Psalter.
Okay, so he's going to connect this to the command not to bear false witness. Now, wow, that you talk about an important command. Now, a talebearer, it's interesting how he's going to not bear false witness. Now, okay, there's a lot of ways of looking at this, right? Because, and I'm just processing this out loud. Of course, you know how I do sermon reviews. We're listening to this in real time. Here's the thing I'm thinking. Well, wait a minute. To bear false witness, seemingly that means to go say something about someone that's just not true. You're bearing false witness. You're making an accusation against someone. You're making a claim, and it's not accurate. It's not true. And yes, the church in America needs to learn that, because we saw this during the pandemic, and we see this during political season. We see it over and over. We say things about someone that's just not accurate. That's just not true. And in fact, I was kind of accused of that a little bit just this week, and trying to articulate everything that happened at the Strong Men's Conference. And we talked about Mark Driscoll being kicked off the stage, and that, hey, you're saying things. Whoa, wait a minute. I kept saying this is what we do know. And so how do we process this? I wasn't trying to make any claim of something I don't know. Bearing false witness, and I wasn't trying to make any false accusation. I was trying to respond to what we actually heard. So, but to bear false witness is when you're making claims about someone that are just not accurate, that are just not true. In other words, if I said, hey, Mark Driscoll was at the Strong Men's Conference and he got on stage and he got kicked off because he said that we should kill babies. Okay, well, now I'm bearing false witness. If I say, hey, Mark Driscoll got kicked off stage because he said this, and I play the audio, then I'm not bearing false witness. All right. Now I'm literally playing what happened because, well, the audio was available. I think that's drawing that distinction. But a lot of times people make claims and accusations and say things. You could say things about a presidential candidate. You could say things about a president that are just not accurate or true. You could say things about someone a part of the CDC, or someone saying something about doctors and related to COVID, and you're just making false statements. You're bearing false witness. That needs to stop. Now, my brain is saying, okay, that's one, but how does that connect to talebearing? Talebearing, you may not be bearing false witness in the sense that you're saying something that's not true. A talebearer is someone that you may be speaking the truth. Everything you say may be 100% accurate. The question is, should you be revealing it? Should you be saying it? Are you simply revealing this and saying this so that you can spread gossip, so that you could spread slander? You're just trying to hurt someone with it. So do you see in your mind a distinction between bearing false witness and being a talebearer? I see them as somehow separate. A talebearer could be telling the truth. Just shouldn't be telling that truth to anybody else. And because they do so to cause strife. It's just spreading gossip. You can spread gossip, and I think in some ways gossip doesn't always mean that it's not true. It's just you're telling this information to people that you shouldn't be telling other people. It's no one else's business. You're doing so for whatever reason, just because you're a busybody, because you want to hurt the other person, or you want to elevate yourself and make yourself the center of attention. I see them as distinct. Let's see how he connects the two together.
What is required in the 9th commandment? That I bear false witness against no man, nor falsify any man's words, that I be no backbiter nor slanderer, that I do not judge nor join in condemning any man rashly or unheard, but that I avoid all sorts of lies and deceit as the proper works of the devil, unless I would bring down upon me the heavy wrath of God. Likewise, that in judgment and all other dealings I love the truth, speak it uprightly, and confess it. Also that I defend and promote as much as I am able the honor and good character of my neighbor.
So I think our first assignment here, what do you think? Is talebearing and bearing false witness two separate things? There may be some link, because I could be a talebearer, and so in doing it, being a talebearer, spreading lies or exposing secrets, I could be bearing false witness because I could be saying that which isn't true. But if you look at, say, just Proverbs 20:19, I know I keep reading this verse. He that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets. It doesn't say he goes about revealing false secrets. So I think there's a distinction here. I think there's a distinction. You can let me know. Let's see what he does with this.
Beloved of God, as you know, the law of Jehovah God has two tables. The first,
he has a very deliberate pace. Turn to Proverbs chapter 20, like very deliberate pacing. Very deliberate pacing. Now, he may not do that. Now, some may much more. Now, this is just stylistic observations, right? You may like his more somber, stylistic, or his more somber, slower pace with kind of these long pauses. Or you may prefer someone like me that, and I talk, and I cut myself off in the middle of a sentence. I'm like, okay, and then I'm off to something, and you're like, whoa. Calm down, drink some decaf, right? That's just my normal personality. If you hear me talking about anything, I can do that. So this is where personality comes across in preaching. So there's a part of me that's like, okay, come on now, come on. Let me help. Like I would probably be bad in having a conversation with it. If this is his normal kind of way he talks, I would be cutting him off constantly. So yeah. All right. So let's just see if the pace, if the stylistic, if it changes here.
Gives to us the path upon which we may very really in our life express our love and gratitude to God directly. The second table of the law gives to us the path upon which we may express our gratitude and love for God through our love for the neighbor. So the fifth commandment, first commandment in the second table of the law, calls us to love God by loving our neighbor, even if he is in authority over us, submitting to his authority as unto God. In the sixth commandment, we are called to love God by loving the neighbor in the preserving of the neighbor's person. Thou shalt not kill. In the seventh commandment, we are called to love God by loving the neighbor in the preservation of his purity. Thou shalt not commit adultery. In the eighth commandment, we are called to love God through loving the neighbor in the preservation of the neighbor's property. Thou shalt not steal. And now, this morning, in the ninth commandment, we are called to love God by preserving the neighbor's reputation. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Preserve his reputation.
I do like the way he's articulating that if we are to love our neighbor, we do so in trying to preserve them, preserve their this and preserve this and protect this and protect this. Meaning that if we truly love others, we think of them before ourselves. If we truly love others, we think about their well-being, their reputation, their purity. We really think about those if we really care about other people and not just care about ourselves. So that's very convicting. I don't know about you. That's very convicting, and challenges are, it's easy for us to it's easy to say, I love you. Doesn't mean anything if your love is selfish, if your love is about you, if your love only for what you can get. But if you truly love someone, then you're wanting to protect and preserve and help, and you're looking out for them, even at your own sacrifice, even to your own hurt, like you care about them more than you care about you. It's not like, hey, I love you. Oh, you just did something I didn't like. I'm going to bring you down. I'm burning down the house. I'm taking you down. Okay, well, then you didn't love them in the first place. You loved them because of what they did for you. And the minute they let you down, then you want to destroy. That's the case. Now, this is all great stuff. I'm just not quite sure how this gets us to talebearer. Now, talebearer, I think we could get there this way. If loving people is about preserving other people's reputation, then we will not be a talebearer because we are just starting. Now, this has nothing to do with obviously legal matters where someone has committed a crime. We have to then obviously engage in that in a correct way. But in every other way, you don't go around running your mouth talking about what other people have done, could done, should do, because typically you're not showing love for the other person. And typically you're trying to either show your own bitterness and hatred towards the other person, and you're simply trying to elevate yourself to make yourself look better than them.
First and most immediate application of that commandment is to bearing witness in a court of law. Thou shalt not bear false witness is first of all, and most literally, explicitly, do not give a false testimony if you're a witness in court against someone who is being tried. Because you want the case to go a certain way, to come down a certain way, you may not destroy the reputation of your neighbor by saying something false about him. But besides that very public and formal way of ruining my neighbor's reputation, there is a more private and more common way that I can do that the commandment forbids as well. That is by backbiting and slander. By what the book of Proverbs calls talebearing. The Catechism explains that since all of the commandments stand for a whole broad array of commandments that fit under that one is under an umbrella, this too is part of what is forbidden by the ninth commandment. That I, to quote the Catechism, bear false witness against no man, nor falsify any man's words. And then this, that I be no backbiter nor slanderer. And I think you would agree with me if I said that there have been many more reputations of many more neighbors ruined by backbiting and slander than by the bearing of false witness amongst us in a court of law. Talebearing leaves a mountain of hurt people in its wake. I would venture to guess.
He's definitely connecting this concept that talebearing is backbiting and it is slander. There is a slanderous element to it, but he seems to be going with the concept that talebearing involves sharing lies, sharing not things that are not true, and that's where I feel that that's not necessarily the case. I think talebearing to me, talebearing is you're revealing secrets that are true, and slander. And you can do that in a slanderous way, right? You can do so. I'm telling people this stuff to slander them, to destroy their reputation. But I think there's another thing of bearing false witness, which can be slanderous because now you're making up lies to destroy them. So I think you can hurt people with truth and with lies. So I think truth-bearing deals with the more just revealing that which shouldn't be revealed, more so than the lying part. I still am drawing a distinction.
There is not a single person here this morning who has not been hurt in some way by gossip or slander or talebearing. Among other things, this sin is what is in James's mind when he says that the tongue can start a wildfire. James 3 verse 6, and the tongue is a fire itself, and then it sets on fire the whole course of nature, he says. Rumors, gossip, talebearing, slander spreads from one to another like a wildfire. And the person who's being rumored about has his reputation damaged or hurt. There are, of course, many things that I can do myself to hurt my reputation. And I can't speak foolishly and act foolishly and then blame everybody else when my reputation is damaged or hurt. Nonetheless, in the Church of Jesus Christ especially, I ought to be able to trust that my brothers and sisters love me by preserving my reputation, best that they are able to do so. But how we all fail at this. How we fail at this against our own brothers and sisters in Christ. Even those of us who can immediately this morning think of ways that they have been hurt by this themselves. Even we have to admit, don't we, that we also have been guilty of this to others. And because this is probably the most prevalent breaking of the 9th commandment, certainly the most prevalent breaking of it amongst us. Talebearing, slander, backbiting, gossip.
See, are you breaking the commandment not to bear false witness by talebearing? He has linked these forever. We did a little work in our devotional earlier. I'm not. Let's see if he tries to break this down a little bit and offer kind of he's basically saying talebearing is breaking the commandment not to bear false witness. And I'm like, bearing false witness is where you go and you lie. You make up information. You misrepresent. Talebearing is like, hey, shh, come here. Did you hear about so-and-so? They did this and they did this and they did this and they did this and they did that. And it's like that. Now, you're slandering the person, you're destroying the person, but you're not trying to preserve their reputation. You are trying to expose and to hurt and to destroy and not handling whatever the issue is in a correct way. I'm still, my hypothesis is that these are separated. There are connections, right? Bearing false witness hurts. It slanders. It destroys. It can be a part of gossip. Talebearing can hurt, can slander, and it's a part of gossip. They are related, but I think that there is a somewhat of a clear distinction.
Is the focus of the sermon this morning as we expound the 9th commandment. It's a sin. It's a sin. It's a sin that God hates. What did we read in Proverbs 6 this morning? These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination to him. A false witness that speaketh lies. He that soweth discord among his brethren. That's the same person. False witness.
So he keeps going to the false witness. So I don't know. Is this about, it sounds like that the really goal of this was not talebearing, that the sermon was really about bearing false witness. Hey, they bear false witness. They spread lies. They spread discord. Now, spreading discord or causing discord among the brethren, yes, talebearing can do that because now you're revealing secrets, right? But that doesn't mean that you're not spreading lies. Bearing a false witness and gossip and slander, dealing with bearing a false witness, that's the spreading of the lie. The talebearing could be the spreading of truth. I think that there's a distinction. I'm sticking to it yet. I could be wrong. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. You're hearing their hypotheses. He's kind of correlating, connecting the two. I'm separating the two.
Sows discord among the brethren. You may not brush this off as just a little thing, little sin. It's something that everybody does anyway. Matthew 12, verse 36, but I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. We must face what the Word of God says about this sin and seek the only cure for this sin, the only cure for our sin, for my sin, the sin of talebearing.
It's just weird. He's using these so interchangeably. Bearing false witness, the sin of talebearing. And it's like talebearing is a synonym for It's like basically it's just being used synonymously with the idea of bearing false witness. And I don't think it's the same thing. It's similar in nature. It's a sin of the tongue. It's a sin of our speech. But I think that there is a distinction. I think so. See, this is why using the Sermons 2.0 app is so amazing. I never would have even considered connecting talebearing with bearing a false witness. So now this is putting forth a hypothesis that I've never even considered. I may end up completely disagreeing with it, but it's going to challenge me to think about it. See, that's why we're doing this.
Cure for talebearing. First, the sin. Second, the cure. Third, the result. The book of Proverbs, when it speaks of talebearing, uses two Hebrew words that are translated talebearing in our.
All right. See, now we kind of stumbled upon this in the devotional. We looked up the one Hebrew word, and I said, well, there's another Hebrew word, and I kind of told you to find it. He's about to give us both Hebrew words. All right. So here we are. We're about to get both.
Bible. The first is in Proverbs 11, verse 13, which we didn't read yet this morning. A talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is of a faithful spirit concealeth the matter. That word for talebearing there in the Hebrew literally means one who walks around gossiping and slandering.
All right, he says the Hebrew word is one that literally walks around slandering and gossiping. That Hebrew word in question is this.
Strong's H 1980. Halach. Halach.
Halak.
The form
oh, wait.
Just below that, Yalach. Yalach.
I would go with halak, but it has two different forms. It's used 500 times. It can be translated go, walk, come, away. Strong's definition. Oh man, this thing is long. To walk in. Basically a lot of idea of walking, all right? Walking, moving, the outline of biblical usage: to go, walk, come, depart, proceed, to walk, to traverse, to walk about, all right? And a talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is a faithful spirit concealeth the matter. So a talebearer, in a sense, walks around. But see, he says walking around gossiping and slandering. To me, a talebearer is the one walking around revealing secrets. They're the ones that as soon as you tell them, they're like, oh, gotta go. Hey, did you hear? Hey, did you hear? Did you hear? Now that there's slander and gossip involved in it, but it's the walking around. It's opening the mouth. It's a big mouth that can't hold a secret. It can't. You can't say anything to them in confidence. They always got to tell. They always got to share. They just talk. And it's always about other people and what other people are doing. And they want to be the source of all information, even though when that information should not be shared in any way, shape, or form. They may be the one who uses, prayer meeting as an opportunity to talk about other people. Now, they may try to act like that they're being all righteous and godly and they care about people, but they really they can't just say, hey, I've got some things to pray about tonight, so just some unspoken. No. They got to name the person. They got to name where they work. This person works with me, and the person is an alcoholic and cheats on his wife and is addicted to porn and has a child who's in jail. And you're like, whoa, where did all of this information come from? It's nobody's business. All right, so I'm going to make sure that that's the Hebrew word there. Okay, talebearer. Yeah, that's halak. All right, so yeah, it's to walk about. But it's to walk about. He says to gossip and to slander. But the verse itself says, a talebearer revealeth secrets. A talebearer is revealing secrets. The consequence or a part of that secret revealing may then be also a part of gossip and slander. But it's the revealing of secrets. And a revealing of secrets. It's not saying the revealing of made up secrets. It's revealing truth. This is not bearing false witness.
The New Testament captures that idea when it speaks of this sin in 1 Timothy 5, verse 13. And with all they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, tattlers and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. That's the idea captured in this very word for talebearing.
Oh, now that's good. That's really good. That's really good. 1 Timothy 5:13. We may want to put this next to all of the verses that mention talebearing. That's brilliant. That's a great cross-reference. And withal learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, not only idle, but tattlers and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. That is talebearing. It's not that you're going around bearing false witness. You're going around telling things that you are not. It's like you're just tattling. You're just telling. You're just talking. Find something else to do with your life. That's talebearing. Oh, oh man, that's such a great cross-reference. That is awesome. That's worth the entire review right there. 1 Timothy 5:13. Write that down. That is the New Testament defining what a talebearing is. Has nothing to do with bearing false witness, though. Okay, nothing to do with bearing false witness is something separate. Someone can be going from house to house bearing false witness. That's different than going from house to house being a talebearer. A talebearer, you may be sharing truth. False witness, you're spreading lies.
The going around, walking around from house to house, gossiping and slandering. The other Hebrew word for talebearing is in Proverbs 26, verse 20, which we did read this morning. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. That word's different. It means literally a whisperer. Captures this aspect of talebearing, that it's one who says things that they know they ought not to be saying.
Oh, wait. No. I think there's 3 Hebrew words. Okay, so this one, we got to figure this out. Okay, that's Proverbs 26:20. Where no wood is, there fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. That is this Hebrew word, okay, the talebearer, it's this Hebrew word.
Strong's H 5372. Nirgan.
Nirgan. It is used 3 times, talebearer 3 times, whisper one time. Strong's definition, nirgan, from an unused root meaning to roll to pieces, a slanderer, talebearer, whisperer, to murmur, to whisper. Backbite, talebearer, backbiter. This is the idea someone is murmuring and whispering, but they're telling truth, but they're backbiting. They're getting back at someone by revealing secrets. They're murmuring and whispering. Now, those are 2 different Hebrew words, but there's got it. Okay, I don't know why he said there's 2. Remember, I said there's at least one more. Okay, if we go back to Proverbs, okay, make sure I'm correct here. Proverbs 20:19. I'm going to go to Proverbs 20:19. Proverbs 20:19. He said there was 2. Yeah, here's the third one.
Strong's H 7400.
Rahil, however you to say it correctly. So actually talebearer there are 3 different Hebrew words. He said there's 2. There's actually 3. And this one, Rahil, is used 6 times, slanderer 2 times, talebearer 2 times. It means slanderer, talebearer, informer. It's the informant. It's the informer, right? Okay? There was a song in the 1990s. Okay, all right. I won't. No, the reason why so I worked everybody knows worked in the medical world for 22 years of my life. Okay. And so we worked at night, and there was a person who worked with us. And for some weird reason, she would come in, she would let all the people during the day know what we did at night, like everything, like everything. And so at first we were like, who's the informant here? Who's the informer here? Someone, who's the narc here, right? So then we would we would do something or say something and see how quickly we would get the phone call or hear about it the night. Oh, we heard that the night crew, the night shift did this. I'm like, well, how did you know that? Well, there's only one person we told, right? There's only one person we made known. Like we did all kinds of experiments. So then there was a popular song in the 1990s about someone being an informer, someone being an informant, and we would play it. And well, that she never caught on that we were playing it because, well, she was that. That's what this talebearer is. It's an informant. It's again doing these things. So there are 3 Hebrew words. They said 2. There's 3. Now, listen, I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I'm just saying, whenever you hear me or anyone else say, there's this many Hebrew words, or this Hebrew word means this, or this Hebrew word means this, don't take anyone's word for it. Look it up. Look it up. All right? But we, at least for the King James, now maybe in the translation he's using, maybe in their translation, there's only 2 Hebrew words, and based on the manuscripts for that, but at least in the King James, there are 3 Hebrew words that are translated talebearer. 3 different ones. Now you can do some extra work on that. I'm not going to be dogmatic, but it seems to me there are 3. As soon as he said 2, I was like, okay, great. I gave you 1. And I said, some of these other verses are using talebearer, and it's clearly a different Hebrew word. So go ahead and check that. Well, he said 2, and I'm like, okay, great. I know I was at least halfway right. But when all of a sudden he gave the second Hebrew word, I'm like, wait a minute. No. There's a third one. All right. So we have 3. All right, that's very important. We may want to, if someone is listening to this, please get those 3 So I give you for Rachel, however you would like to say it. That's Proverbs 20:19. I want you to write that one down, right? And then give me the references for those other 2, and we'll take the 3 references. What we'll do is at some point in this, I'll come back and we'll say, here are the 3 Hebrew words that are translated talebearer, and when we put the meaning of those 3 Hebrew words, this is what a talebearer is. And we have to then take the rest of the text. The Hebrew words gives us an idea, but I think the Hebrew words only give us partial idea, because the text itself over and over says a talebearer is someone who reveals secrets. I think the definition of the Hebrew words just explains how they're revealing the secrets. They're walking around, they're whispering, they're murmuring, they're backbiting, they're informing.
So they're kind of secretive about it. They whisper it around. That's what talebearing is. It's talebearing. It's bearing a tale upon your lips that you know you ought not be talking about, and spreading that tale around to others. Catechism describes it with those 2 words, slander and backbiting. Slander refers to talebearing. That is false, spreading around something false.
Okay, see, I don't know about that. Slander, you can slander by spreading something false, but you can slander by telling something that's true. I think the talebearing is the revealing of secrets. It's the revealing of true things, but in order to inflict slander, to backbite, in order to hurt. I don't see that as being, talebearing is revealing the secret. You're revealing that which may be true, but you should not be saying it. False witness is where you're spreading slander, but you're spreading that which is false. I think there's a distinction.
Backbiting is bearing a tale that is true, which doesn't make it any better if it hurts the neighbor. How many times don't you hear, well, I'm just stating the facts. Hey, it's true. As though that excuses the fact that I have just told something that I shouldn't, that can ruin or damage my brother or sister's in Christ's reputation. Many things, anyway, that we think we're passing along that are true aren't, or at least partly are not true. How quickly we can think, well, somebody told it to me, so it must be true. It's based on rumor that we heard, third or fourth hand, but if someone told me, then it must be true. And we have judged that person based on what this person told me, as the Catechism says, rashly or unheard. We've believed that rumor without taking the time to go back to the original person to see if it's true. Then we pass it along because hey, it's true, it's fact. And likely it's not, or it's twisted or exaggerated anyway. But in the end, it doesn't matter anyway whether or not it's true. Slander and backbiting both have this in common, that the tale that is being born, whether true or false, is better left unsaid.
Now that is good. It doesn't matter if it's true or false. Now, I think we draw a distinction between bearing false witness and truth and talebearing, because I believe one is dealing with the falsehood and the other one's dealing with speaking truth. But it doesn't matter, because it's things that should not be said. You're saying it and it's hurting, it's destroying, it's causing problems. It's not your place. Be quiet.
And that if it was left unsaid, it would prevent damage and hurt to my neighbor. That I would be loving my neighbor by keeping quiet about this. But in hatred for them and love of myself, I do not. Sometimes, of course, there are tales that have to be borne to another, precisely for the sake of love for the neighbor. My brother or sister in Christ does not repent of their sin, then I must bring that to the proper authority and speak that for the protection of a different neighbor or brother and sister in Christ. Maybe I have to say something to them about this other neighbor. For the protection of the church, sometimes something must be said about another. For example, when there is approbation of office bearers. So there are times when saying something about another is proper, is appropriate. But more often than not, beloved, it doesn't need to be said, does it? And that is the question that we must ask ourselves before we speak. Does this need to be said? For love's sake, for love for the church, for love for the neighbor's sake, for love for God's sake, does this need to be said? And then we may not make up flimsy reasons why we think it has to be said to convince ourselves. 98, 99% of the time, it doesn't need to be said. Am I loving my neighbor by saying this?
And I'll go so far to say, are you showing love to your neighbor? Are you showing love to your enemy? You as a Christian are called to even love your enemy. So even if it's your enemy, sometimes, he says 98, 99% of the time, we probably shouldn't even say it. So I'm going to draw the distinction. Bearing false witness is where you're going and spreading lies and misinformation, wrong information, mischaracterization, misrepresentation, disinformation, and you cause problems, pain, and suffering and hurt, and you spread slander and gossip by giving wrong information. Talebearing is where you go reveal secrets that are true, but it ends in the same. And both, whether it's bearing false witness or where it's talebearing, you're demonstrating not a love for your brother or your friend or your family or coworker. You're not showing love to your enemy. You're showing love of self, and you're destroying other people. Now, we'll stop right there. I want you to go look up that sermon. It's The Cure for Talebearing by Pastor Corey, Griess, from, let me pull it up here, from which church? Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. Calvary Protestant Reformed Church. He said that there are two Hebrew words from where we get that are translated talebearer, or talebearing. There are actually, I believe we found at least 3. You can do some verification of that, organize that, and let me know what you think about all of this. You can email me newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. I would go further, but we're already at 59 minutes. There's probably like 40 minutes left at this sermon, so there's no way we would even come close. We may do a part 2 from this. Maybe I'll do a part 2 from another sermon on talebearing. But all of this week for the Sermons 2.0 app challenge, you are to find sermons dealing with talebearing, gossip, slander, tongue, mouth, words. And hopefully you'll find all of this to be beneficial and challenging as we consider that all of us as human beings, we have a mouth, and it's the source of most of our problems, or at least many of our problems. We need to really think about our words and what we say. Thank you for listening. Email me. Everyone have a great rest of your Tuesday. God bless.